Comms test 1, 2. Comms test 1, 2. Great, that appears to be working. Well, welcome one and all to this slightly different, I don't even know how to explain this. This is an experience I've been waiting for a very, very long time. This game is called Titanic VR. If you haven't already experienced, I'm in a submarine. These are my two wands. These are what makes me control everything. I'm still getting grips of the game. It's still, well, I won't call it a game, it's more of a virtual experience. I've already had a little bit of play about with this just to get used to the controls and stuff. Now, I have to say, the controls are a little bit hard to get used to. That said though, it's still a very, 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 very interactive game, and there's a lot of things that you can and cannot do with this. Obviously, this is only virtual, so obviously the detail, especially on the PSVR, in the PC version, it's much, much more better, because obviously the capabilities are much better. On PlayStation, however, it's a little bit less depth. As you can see, some of the detail on the screen is a little bit blurry and a little bit off. I've got an ROV as well, so I can actually go into an ROV feed, so I can get close and personal and look around the ship a little bit more, especially when we're going through. This is only basically like a brief introduction. I'm probably going to do something a little bit more depth on this, but I thought I'd do something different from my normal stuff that I usually do, which is, as we all know, is F1. So I thought I'd do something slightly different, and because I love the Titanic, I love the story behind the Titanic, I love the lore, as I want to put it, about the ship itself, how it sank, where it's raised on the bottom. Now, when this was taken, or when this is based on, is the 1985 find by the people who found it at that time. So a lot of the pictures so a lot of the detail that you'll be seeing is taken from that time, and obviously the ship is in a lot worse condition now. So when we're going through the ship, you'll see that it is in a little bit better condition than what it is today. But it just gives you some form of sort of virtual respect for what the ship is and what it actually represents. You know, so these are controls that are in front of me right now. It's very awkward. I've never done this before in my life. I've obviously talked to people before in online and live streaming, but I've never done it in VR, and it's a little awkward. So I'm still trying to get used to this. Oh my goodness, come on. There we go. How's that working? Is that better? The controls are a bit iffy. There we go. There we go. Now we're set. So that's that. Okay, right. So we're going to move forward towards the bow of the ship, or the front of the ship. And as you can see on the main screen here, you'll see that this is the actual ship itself. It gives me an outline of where the port and starboard side of the ship is, where the bow is, and gives me an overview of what the actual ship. Now there's two parts to this. There's the bow, which is obviously the better preserved part of the ship, and also the stern. We'll come into the stern maybe in a later video. Haven't quite decided yet. We'll see how this one does. But this is just like I said, a brief introduction into the experience. It was produced by VR Education Studios, who have done a lot of other things. They did the they did the Blitz VR experience. They've also done Apollo, plus a lot of other things. But if you want to look at them, it's immersive VR experiences and education. By all means, look them up. They are a fantastic team, very small team that are based in Ireland, but they are very dedicated to what they do. And it's great to finally see this on the PSVR. So if you're listening, Immersive, thank you very much for what you've done and finally bringing it to the PSVR. So we're going to make our way towards the bow, and there's the bow of the ship. And it's I know you guys are looking at this for like in a 2D perspective, but if you were in VR, you would see this ghostly image come out of the darkness that is in the Atlantic Ocean, and it is truly awe-inspiring when you finally see this thing for the first time, and you see the bow of the ship, and it is just absolutely incredible. And the fact that you can now do this in realistic life is just incredible. So I'm still trying to get used to these controls, and it's a bit iffy. Now you can see that if you're looking at the PC version compared to the PSVR version, there is obviously a big difference in fidelity. It's not as much detail, that you could see the barnacles on the side of the ship, the rusticles. They're not as detailed as what it is in the PC, because at the end of the day, you've got to think of that the PC is a much bigger build. The PS or the PlayStation isn't as good. When the Pro finally comes out, I'm going to see what the difference is between this and the Pro, because I'm getting one, so to upgrade from the PS normal. So we'll see how that works. But as you can see from the bow of the ship, we're now coming around what would be the starboard side of the ship, and you can see that massive anchor, pure cast iron. I mean, you have to think about how heavy that thing actually is when it was actually what it was meant for, not obviously being sunk at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But that is an incredible sight, and let's put the ROV on and you'll see what I mean. So you've got these two beautiful hands here, but you can actually see the anchor for itself, and you can get really up and close and personal with this ship. You can see the rails there, and the ship and the anchor. And obviously as you get close to the detail, it isn't as good. But I mean, if you're looking further back, I don't want to be as far back to the sub. That'd be the last thing I want to do, is damage this thing if it was real life. James Cameron, don't let me use one of these for real. There we go. Still trying to get used to the controls. But you can see it's just absolutely incredible. So we're going to make our way up towards the rails. And there is the deck of the bow. And you have to think, I mean, this is virtual, so you have to think to yourself, what would this actually be like in real life? And this isn't, unless you've got so much money in your bank that you have more money than sense, you're never going to get a chance to see this thing for real. And this is probably the best you'll ever, or the closest you're ever going to get. There's another anchor there for the bow. It's incredible. It's amazing what you can do now in this modern time. It's truly incredible. Oh, bloody hell, I'm getting confused with the controls. So we're going to bring it down now to the bow. Right to the bow. And you can see that, I mean, you're looking into the dark there, but you'd think right there, right in front of you, right there would be the bridge, the forward edge of the cabin areas, and all the working components of what would be the Titanic. It's just awe-inspiring. This is a huge ship, and just to think that this is now sunk, what, 2.5 miles at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, just sitting here, rusting away in the darkness. I mean, you have to think, 2.5 miles up, that's a sea, but that's a sea. You know, that's the top of the sea, and we're 2.5 miles down. Well, obviously virtually, but we're 2.5 miles down at the bottom of the seabed on the Atlantic Ocean. And good God, it's just truly incredible. And we can actually explore all the way inside the ship. Obviously, some of the things can't be captured because you can't actually get in there. Like, for example, this hatch here. There was actually a hatch that was on top here. As you can see, you can't really get down there because there's not anything. There's no actual photographic imagery inside this part, so obviously all they've done is blocked it off. But there used to be a big massive metal hatch that used to be on there, and obviously as the ship was spiraling down and coming from what would be the sea, from the top of where we're looking right, or where we are now, as it came down 2.5 miles, you're thinking this is coming down pure cast iron and steel of ship, which is just broken in half, and it's plummeting down to the seabed. This would have ripped off, and you can see as we come further down, you can see the anchor chains now with the capstan winches and the line ropes, and oh man, I'm slowly coming down here. What's going on? Right, there we go. So this is the biggest bit. This used to be one of the cargo hatches. So in here would go all like the larger cargo that would be done by one of the capstan cranes, which if I look right now, should be, there would be one right about here. There it is. That's where one of the cranes would have been. So one of the cranes that would have been sat there is right there, and obviously that would be hoying or bringing cars and big boxes that would be going into that hatch there, and obviously that's the ropes and systems that they'd, or the line systems they'd be using to make all this work. It's just absolutely incredible. Where's we're coming through? The amount of fidelity, even though this is a PSVR, the amount of detail that's involved. I mean, look, there's a little deep dwelling fish right there. Hello, mate. So we're going to come back towards where the submersible is. We'll come over the hatch, and we'll do a bit of a gander around the actual ship itself. We'll go up towards the bridge. See where that big, massive, famous copper and iron wow, what's that? Oh, is that the R? Yeah, that's the sub. I got confused what that was then. I thought it was a glitch. So we're going to start making our way towards the sub. Bring ourselves back round over the bow of the ship. Good God. I mean, okay, right, I'm going to bring it down now to sort of like eye level of where a normal person would be standing, and we're just going to look over the rails. So, normal man probably about that high, and looking down. I mean, you can't really see anything, to be honest, because it's so dark down here, but we'll come over this side quickly before we head back to the ROV. To the sub. Here we go. So we're going to come up to about eye level now, and look over the bow of the ship. You can see that massive anchor, and you just think that before this sank, people were just going about their normal day. They were just doing normal trotting, just thinking life was good. Back in 1912 when this thing sank. Incredible. I'm getting confused with my buttons again. There we go. Right, bring ourselves back down towards the sub, and we'll go for a bit of an exploration with the sub. So we'll bring ourselves back to the ship, outside to the sub, and there's our little ROV over there. We'll recall him. Yeah, and the amount of detail that's involved in this game is, well, like I said, it's not really even a game. It's just an experience. It's just a very immersive experience. So let's bring ourselves above the anchor in the ship. It's one of those large lifting cranes I was talking about. Let's bring ourselves up towards where all the work inside would have been. So now we're coming up to where the crow's nest would have been. This is where the the famous spotters would have been. I mean, like I said, this unfortunately now isn't here anymore. This is gone. This has completely been wiped out because of the amount of dives and other people who've been down here in real life. They've knocked this down, and it's all just a massive amount of rubble now, and it's so sad because I think this thing needs to be, well, I won't call it thing, but I think the Titanic needed to be preserved in a much better way, rather than having all these dives go down and tamper with its. It is basically a gravesite. It is basically a gravesite. Gravesite of all those people who died. Oh dear me, I'm crashing into things. So that's a prime example. Don't let me control one of these things. What did I crash into? See, I crashed into one of the massive cranes. So this is what I was talking about. One of these big, massive capstan cranes that we were talking about. Oh my good God, do not let me drive one of these for real. There we go. So we'll get ourselves, now we're coming towards sort of like the cabin area, or the actual main drive of the ship. And there they are right there, those two huge tonnage cranes, and they'd be taking things down into that hole, which would be the cargo area, which we were talking about earlier. I mean, as you can see there. Yep, and obviously the crow's nest as well. Where and you can also see, don't know whether you can see it from there. I don't want to get too close. But you know what? Let's get as close as we can before I start damaging things. But as you can see there, that's where the bell would have been. That's where, if you look right there, where that railing system is, where that hatch is, that would have been the door for the crew to get out. So they'd basically walk from the base all the way up here. And this is where they'd come out into the crow's nest. And this is obviously where they found the iceberg. So if you look, hopefully I won't crack. Oh, blimmin' hell. Stop it. I will get the hang of this eventually. Like I said, I'm relatively new to this. And if you look, so we're looking roughly about where that crow's nest would have been. So we're going a little bit higher now. Down there. And as you can see, you can't really see much, but you just have to imagine that the bow is right there. And right in front of them, right there, is the iceberg that would doom this ship. You just have to put yourself in. I mean, in VR you can kind of do that. So I'm in complete mode now. Oh God. So we're going to go a little bit higher, because obviously that isn't as high as the crow's nest would have been. It would have been a little bit higher than that, but right in front of you, right there, would have been the bow, with that huge railing system, with that railing system going down the side, and right in front of them, maybe a mile and a half, and a couple of nautical miles ahead of them, would have been that huge iceberg that would wipe the ship out and bring it to its knees and crumple in two, and be the death of just over 1,500 people. It's mad. It's complete madness. So glad they managed to make this. There's also another game, another experience coming out soon, which is going to be Titanic Honor and Glory, and that's basically the same sort of thing, but it's going to also involve the ship as it was back in 1912. From the day the ship actually set sail from Southampton, it will actually be from that day, how the ship looked in its heyday. And it's good. It'll be good to see that, because everyone sort of talks about the wreck, and as important as the wreck is, I think it's important to remember the ship as it was back in 1912, and remember it for its glory, because everyone just knows it as this, and the only thing we know is pictures, black and white pictures of back in 1912, and as much as that's memorable and sort of you think to yourself, wow, that's incredible, and it is, with today's modern technology, it'd be great to see this ship and explore it as it was back in 1912, and I cannot wait for that game to come out. Titanic Honor and Glory, it's coming out on PC, on the Vive and Oculus. Not too sure about the PSVR, I don't think it is, but it would be good if they did bring it to this, because, you know, not everyone's got the money to go out and go get an Oculus Rift and and the Oculus or Vive. You know, they're quite expensive buys, and as you can see, there's a bit of glitch in there from where the door is. You can just see where the door is there, and as the frame rate comes in the draw distance, you know, so there are obviously a few small little issues with this experience, but it still gives you that little bit of a chill down the back of your neck. It really does. It's really quite impressive, and that's what we're talking about. So this is where Captain Smith was, or would have been reported. So everyone says that he came here for his final moments. Everyone says that this is where he came to go down with the ship, and this is where he was. This is exactly where he was. At this point, he knew the ship was doomed. He locked himself in here and went down with the ship. But I mean, everyone sort of complains about the fact, you know, he did this, did that. He was under a lot of pressure, and to be honest, he was retiring. That isn't an excuse, but, you know, there was a lot of things probably on his mind or whatever, and officers were trying to do the best they could with the equipment that he didn't have. And, you know, as much as the fault of the White Star Line as it was to anyone else. Oh my goodness me. You know, so still, it's incredible to actually witness this. You know, just experience it. I mean, like I said, you're never ever going to get a chance to do this for real. But I'm nowhere near anything. What's going on here? So we'll get the ROV out again. We'll have a quick look at this. Oh, of course, I've done that wrong. So, switch to the ROV. No. There we go. And as you can see, that's the come on. Yeah, it's just incredible. And that's pretty much the bridge. I mean, there isn't really much else here because everything else was destroyed as the ship came down to its peril, I guess. You know, this is where the map room was, and or the chart room. And this is what I mean by you can actually explore the ship. So we're now going into where the officer quarters would have been. It's quite tight, isn't it? It's quite a narrow. There's the bath. Lavatory system. So we'll keep walking forward. We'll keep going forward, sorry. And obviously I think this is where the back entrance would have been to a room. Guess this would have been a small cabin. I really need to get the charts up and actually know what these floors and the rooms are, because I guess that'd be quite interesting really when you think about it. Another officer's bit. So this is actually real. There is actually a gap right here in real life, because obviously this is where the bulkhead would have been sitting, and obviously when this thing crumpled, it basically bent the ship. It basically buckled the whole ship, especially when the bow came down. And this gap actually did happen. It's actually in real life. It's the real thing. So it's nice to see that they have accurately done that. It's good to see. This would have been an officer's quarters probably. Looks quite smart and nice. This is what I mean by I need to see what Honour and Glory looks like, because this in, you know, as it would have been in 1912, I mean, this would have been absolutely beautiful. You know, fine oak furnishings and brass drawer buns and the ceramic bowls, and these would have been all made out of oak and pine. That's a glitch. You know, these small little things, just small little things. Small electric heater. Wow. I didn't even know they had these in what would have been in 1912. That is a small electric heater. Sure it is. Looks like one. Either that or it would have been a stove fire, maybe. It's definitely some form of heating apparatus. I need to... Whoa, what's going... Whoa. Glitchy, glitch, glitch. I have to look on that one. I didn't know they had that. That can't be electric. I know electric was kind of becoming a thing back in 1912, but I didn't think it was that far ahead. Something to look into, I guess. So let's move forward a bit more, see what else we can find. And I'm crashing into everything. I'm so sorry, people. Please do not hate me for crashing into a beautiful... It's very hard to do. Ah, are these the lift winches? Oh wow. They must be. They must be the lift winches. So, where are we now? I'm quite lost now. Is this where the grand staircase is? Yeah, this is the grand staircase, or what would have been the grand staircase. Obviously, this was a dome. There was a big dome that sat round here. Glass dome, beautiful. And this would have been the grand staircase. Now, the reason why there is no grand staircase right here is because as the ship was plummeting towards the earth, or the seabed, this basically just crumpled. It just went, and it just became a big pile of mush at the bottom of the seabed, or the bottom of the ship. And I'll try and see whether I can get down as deep as I can. Be nice as... I don't know. See, I can't remember. Because we're coming past B deck now. Ooh. Bloody hell, that scared the crap out of me. Hello. There's another one there. Oh, hello. Oh, wait a minute. Well, this would have been the strengthening beams for the grand staircase. Yeah, it would have been, because look, there's the... That's the... That was B deck. No, that's B deck that... No, B deck? No, it's C deck. That's B deck. A deck was the top deck before the glass dome. So this would have been... This must have been where the grand staircase would have sat. Because I'm pretty certain, I mean, don't quote me on this, because I am no expert in Titanic. Please do not think that. Because trust me, I am not. Not in the least. And I'm just trying to sort my system out quickly. Oh, sugar. Everything's all gone wrong. Oh my god, what's going on? Technical errors. Oh. Okay, right. So, yeah, that's incredible. So that's the strengthening beams for the grand staircase. So this would have been... Yes, it must have been, because that there... So if we go down one more... Obviously got to watch out for that. Would this have been the bottom? I thought it went up. I thought it went down further. Oh no, it only went down as far as E deck, didn't it? Because this would have been where the dining areas would have been. Because the clock would have been right there. Pretty much. Yeah, I think it would have been. The world famous clock from the grand staircase would have been right there. So if I sit right around here, and then come back around, yeah, this would have been the bottom of the grand staircase. This is obviously the strengthening beams, or what was left of it. But at the bottom there, you can just see a mass mess. And that's where... oh, no, it couldn't be, because there's one more deck down. So did it go down further than D? Well, that's D decks. Oh yeah, it went down as far as E deck. I was right. Went down as far as E deck, and this is the base. This is as far as the grand staircase would have been. Now I know that there was two grand staircases, so I don't know whether this is the big one. I don't know whether this is the major one, because I know there was two, and I can't remember which one it was. Oh God. I mean, I'm experiencing this first at hand, so I have no idea. This is incredible. It really is. I mean, I could just get lost in here for hours. Oh, I mean, I won't lie, I am lost now. I know where I am, roughly, but I don't know exactly where I am. I know I'm somewhere in the bow. No way! These are the elevators. These are the elevators that would go down as far as E deck. And then there was another set of elevators that went down further into the base. So this is obviously down, down, down. So I'm pretty sure there was an F deck. Right. Sort yourself out. Come on. There we go. Wait, what's that? Is that telling me something? Crew only, so this must have been the crew area. So that would have been a crew quarter, must be, or either that or a like a rest area maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've got to get the plans out. I've actually got to look at this because this is absolutely awe-inspiring. It really is. I mean, you can have a little quick sneak peek there into what would have been probably a cabin, maybe. Yeah, maybe. So let's go down here, see what we can find down here. So we've massively gone off track here. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the big sub. Whoa, that took a bit of time to come on. RV recall. And what we're going to do is we're going to go above the ship now. We're going to go above and beyond. So we're now coming over the... Oh, that's where one of the funnels would have been. No way. So that is one of the funnels. That is actually one of the funnels. Let's bring ourselves back out here. Oh, we don't want to launch ourselves into the jellyfish. The last thing you want to do. Oh, that's incredible. I love it. I love it. And thank you so much, Immersive. Look at that, like a ghost, and oh my goodness, it's like something out of an Abyss film. It really is. So we're now coming over where? Oh wow. Honestly, right. So I know you guys can't really witness this because obviously you're seeing it in the 2D version, but if you could see this in VR, honestly, you'd be in awe. You'd be in absolute awe. So yeah, this is where one of the funnels would have been. This is going down into basically the steam rooms, or where the exhausts would have been coming out straight down there. Would have been one of the massive, gigantic, steel-covered funnels, one of 4. Oh my goodness. I wonder if I can go down. And like I said, this is an explore mode, so let's explore. See how far we can go down. Oh, have they? Yeah, they have. Ah, that's a shame. So they won't allow you to go down any further. That's a real shame. I would have loved to have seen where that had gone. I guess in a way, there is no actual recorded information of, you know, what's down there. I guess in a way, why would you? It's I guess in a way, it just wouldn't be any different from anything else you'd see. Cool mini ROV back. Getting back into our little cage at the front. She does a little pirouette and back in. Great. So that's where one of the funnels would have been. So now let me have a think. We're looking. That's the bow. We're now coming over basically. So here we go. Right, I'm going to come down to deck level now. Oh my goodness. So now we're looking at... Oh my goodness, look at the damage. Just see how that bulkhead there is just ripped open. Oh my God, man. So we're now coming down where... This is where the first class outside dining area would have been. And where the Roman baths were, and the gymnasium as well. Right, I'm just going to part this right here. Just think, as the bow was sinking, right at that end, there'd have been hundreds and hundreds of people stood right there, panicking, thinking to themselves, we're all going to die. We've got one chance of getting off this ship. We can't get off a life raft because all the life rafts are gone. And there wasn't enough for every single person on board, or every soul on board. There's only one option we've got. Head towards the stern, which is all the way back that way. And you have to think to yourself right now is the fact that, great, the stern's that way, but eventually that's going to be underwater too. So you've only got two options. One, jump off the side of the ship, or two, run to the rear, wait till the ship is about to go under, and then finally jump off. Stay as warm for as long as possible and hope for the best. But of course what they weren't also thinking about was the suction that was going to be happening at that end as the ship was going down. A lot of them just sank to the deaths because the suction of the vacuum that was being created as the ship plummeted down 2.5 miles down to the bottom of the seabed of the Atlantic Ocean, they would have been sucked straight down. They wouldn't have had a chance, especially, young children, women, men. Some of them would have been exhausted from the fact that it was early hours of the morning. They wouldn't have had much sleep. They would have been exhausted. There'd have been people of all weight sizes, people who couldn't swim, and they were just fighting for their lives, theoretically, and people with life vests on. That the flotation devices were old, very, very old. They weren't the correct ones that needed to be used on ships. And you just think to yourself, because of this ship sinking, naval or merchant shipping rules and liner ships changed their whole safety, and it wasn't until this incident where shipping companies were thinking, maybe we should actually take a leaf out of the book of the Titanic. They've made a mess up, let's not make this happen again. And believe it or not, when that happened, the White Star Line brought in both of their ships, the Britannic and the Olympic, and they refitted them completely with new safety measures, all because of this ship. So it took 1,500 lives or just over 1,500 lives. And it also took a sinking of an absolute relic for them to see that. Crazy. Absolute craziness. So we're now coming towards like the back end of the ship. So this is where the bulkhead snapped into. And you'll see that there's actually a middle piece from the ship missing. So we're looking down towards where the rear of the bulkhead would have been. You can see where it's just splat down. This is obviously where, this is it here, this is it here. So if I'm gonna, well, that's ghostly. Oh, that's ghostly. So we're gonna bring it down a little bit further now. So this here is where the bulkhead snapped into. And you'll notice that the double keel, it's a piece of the keel that is missing. This bit right here, actually, this bit here. Oh my goodness, is that the boilers? Oh my god. Okay, right, I'm gonna have to take a moment here. I've got a little story to tell you here, and I know this is boring, a lot of people will find this boring, but this is something that's very important for me, for family history. Sir Wigan Richardson, or Wigan Richardson, was basically a Quaker. He was a shipbuilder and a designer. He built the Mauretania, well, he actually designed the Mauretania, which is one of the most famous ships of the world. It held the blue ribbon for years as one of the fastest speed records across the Atlantic. And he also, and this is no word of a lie, he designed these, or helped design them. I rephrase that, he helped design these. And this is what's more incredible, is the fact that this would be my great grandfather. He designed these, or partially designed it. And I'll tell you the bit that he actually designed, or the bits that he was beginning to design, because obviously this was all built by Holland and Rolfe, and he worked for a company called Wigan Richardson Swan Hunter. Now everyone knows North Tyneside. Swan Hunter is a very, very famous shipping company. Built loads of ships and boats and small little tenders and all sorts. They built all sorts of ships. But Wigan Richardson was also a founder of his own shipping business, or his own shipbuilding company. And Swan Hunter and Wigan Richardson merged ledgers to make Wigan Richardson Swan Hunter, and he helped design these long time ago. In a future not too far from ourselves, but yeah, a little bit of known history. And I know it's virtual. I know it's not real, but my uncle, well, not my uncle, my great-great-great-grandfather helped build these. And designed them. And the bit that he was designing was the blast furnace, which was just inside these portholes. So in here, basically, there'd be people lined up left to right, and they'd be shoveling coal. So all back here would have been all the coal. These would be the steam pipes running up. And in here, I know you can't really see much. It'll put just a bunch of random mess, because obviously they can't go that far into detail. But inside there would be the blast furnace and everything else. And this is the bit that he designed. This whole thing was revolutionary. There was a new induction panel inside there. There was a new way for the steam to be generated, for the heat to be generated to create the steam, and a lot of the brass fittings and the fixtures inside here. wow, it's awe-inspiring. Now I know it's what I've been told down the generations. Now I don't know whether this is actually true, because there is actually no record of this happening. So I'm going off what my granddad told me and what my nana told me, because it's my nan's side, or my dad's nan's side. It was her grandfather. Was that right? Grandfather? Yeah, grandfather. Or was it a father? I'll have to look back on that. I can't remember exactly. It was a long time ago when she explained it. But yeah. If you want to look it up, Wigan Richardson built the Mauritania. He is my great-great-grandfather. Because my nana, was one of 7 sisters. And her name was Rose. Now, don't take that, honestly, do not take this into context. Rose from Titanic, that isn't the case. Her actual name was Rose Richardson. That was her actual full name, Rose Richardson. And yeah, she was my nan, and she told me about all these stories about the Mauritania and what they were built for, and all this. It's incredible. There's actually a thing in the North Tyneside Museum, the Naval Museum that's in Newcastle. And there's a big thing about the Mauritania and the fact that Wigan Richardson helped design the Mauritania, and these boilers were also in the Mauritania. So it's nice to see that this little bit of history is right here in front of my eyes, and it's family orientated. Honestly, I've got goosebumps. I honestly didn't think these were in this game. I'm sorry, I'm staying too long around here. You guys are probably getting bored. But I will be coming back here personally to pay a lot more than just chatting respects. I'll be paying personal respects to this, because this means a lot to me. Okay, right. Let's go back to the submersible. Let's go further on to our journey. See what else we can find. And I can't use any of the buttons. What's going on? There we go. We call that ROV. I'll see you soon. I promise. Okay, so let's bring ourselves back now. Bring ourselves up. Take ourselves away from the boilers. 4 abreast. 5 abreast. There was actually 5 of these side by side. Look, there's the bulkhead. Oh shit! That came out of nowhere. Oh, that could have been really miserable. Ah. So is that... Ah, right, I see. I see. So that's where the paneling would have been for the ship. So the side of the ship, the side of the bulkhead, should have been resting against them massive steel pillars right there. But as you can see, it's just peeled apart. I wonder what the surface looks like from when it impacted. Not much, is it? Not really much. As you can see on the map, that's just pretty much where it ends for the bow end. So let's bring ourselves back round, bring ourselves up. huge portholes. Now coming up to where the promenade deck would have been. Oh, there it is, promenade. Wait a minute, whoa, 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 whoa. Is that what I think it is? Oh, no, no, I thought that was something else then. Oh, no, it is! This... So, this area here, this is pretty much where the band were playing. So up here, this little bit right here, this is pretty much where the band were playing for the final moments of the ship. Here it is, right here. So this area here, on this side of the ship, this is where the band were playing the final moments of the ship sinking. And they stayed here until the ship sank. And that is bravery on the... in just thinking to yourself, well, I'm going to die. I'll just keep playing music and... Wow, that's really something. So I'll just go inside of the ship now. See where that gap is right there. Jesus. Now coming back towards the bow of the ship again, where the bridge is. That's where the bridge would have been. That's the crow's nest. We'll bring ourselves back a little bit more, come down the bow of the ship. I'm getting really quite good at this flipping steering malarkey now. So let's bring ourselves down, past the bow of the ship. Look ourselves back down that way. We'll come down towards where the bow, where the side of the ship is. You can see where it's starting to rise up now towards where the front end of the ship would have been, where the working side is. So this bit wouldn't really have been walked on by normal people. And there's another little fish over there, little sea dweller. And there is where we started earlier. Now obviously there's a lot more you can explore on this ship. This is just basically a brief overview of the ship and how beautiful this game is. Well, I keep calling it a game. It's not a game, it's an experience. It's a VR experience that you can basically be involved in and learn. Probably one of the most famous images you'll ever see in your life. How many times that image right there would have been captured? Right, you know what? Let's go back into the ROV. Whoops, bit too quick. We're going to take a photo right here. Incredible. Incredible. Right, so let's do this. Right guys, that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about right there. It's just a brief overview of the ship and what this game actually does. There is actually 3 different modes to this experience. You've got a story mode which basically shows the horror of what happened on that fateful night from a personal perspective, so from the eyes of a person who was on lifeboat 6, and when it came away and all the drama and everything that came with that, and seeing the ship sink. That's the worst bit, seeing the ship actually sink. And that's the bit that kind of hits you deep in the heart, because you can hear all the drama and all the horror as it's happening firsthand. And I haven't done that yet, but I've heard apparently it's quite heart-wrenching. I might do a live stream on that. I'm not too sure. I might do it first and then do it. You guys tell me what you want me to do. Do you want me to do it live, or do you want me to do it as per? Do you want me to just do it, record it, and then post it, or do you want me to go through it first and then tell you what it's like? You know, you guys tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. There's also an explore mode, as we're doing right now. You've got the bow section, which we've already kind of gone over. Obviously, there's a lot more you can do with that too. There's also the stern as well. Now, the stern is obviously very badly damaged. It is unrecognisably a stern. You can't see it. There's obviously a lot of the things on there you can see, like the propellers, the rudder. You can also see the actual stern, well, what's left of the stern of the ship, I guess, and a couple of the things inside that ship too, to a degree. It isn't very well documented, unfortunately, and it is pretty badly damaged, and you'll see that. And I will do a live stream on that at some point, maybe in the future. I'm not too sure. Oh, it's been a long day. And then finally, there's a gameplay mode. And this is basically where you're a scientist. You do a number of dives down to the Titanic, and you do like certain jobs, and you have to go explore things and bring things up to the surface, and then you have to like clean off those bits of artifacts and then learn about them artifacts and what they meant. And so it is quite good. It is a very, very good experience, and I am very grateful for the guys actually making this game, because I keep calling it a game. It's not a game. It's an immersive experience. And look at that. I mean, just look at that. You think about it right now. Just forget that this is even a virtual experience. If you put yourself right there, you're seeing the ship firsthand. And that's a really ghostly look. That's incredible. Right, guys, listen, that's me for the day. Thank you very much for all those people who have looked. Like I said, I would like to do something different. I'm going to try and do something different other than with F1 videos as well. But this is just a small little thing that I want to do. I might do a little bit more. Depends on how you guys want me to go. Tell me what you think. If you liked it, then great. Put a thumbs up and like it, and then subscribe if you do, and then put the notification bell on as well. That will let you guys know when the latest things come out on YouTube. If not, if you don't, please dislike on it and say your reasons why. Why didn't you like it? Do you want it to be more intrusive? Do you want it to be, you know, I can't make myself better unless you guys tell me what you want. So like I said, peace out, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys again in the next video. Take care.